Put that coffee down. Coffee's for closers only.
Oh, have I got your attention now?
What's up?
What's going on, man?
How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm out here in St. Louis. Dodge is skiing somewhere, and I'm in his hometown, so I didn't get to see him. But out here in
That's
St. Louis,
crazy.
checking out a mom's house event. Yeah, so
It's kind of crazy. I've not been on for 2 weeks. It feels like about 6 months. I've been traveling,
it's been
so
weird. Yes.
yeah, it's been strange. We need to get the band back together. So hopefully next week we'll all be on. But again, we have consistently showed up. So guys, if you're watching, good morning. This is Coffee with Closers. I'm Gavin Timms. This is Don Costa. David Dodge is skiing this week, so he's not joining us. This episode is going to be probably about 25-30 minutes. We're just going to have a kind of a catch up, see what's been going on in Don's life and what I've got going on, and we'll kind of go from there. And if you have any questions, guys, feel free to put them in the comments as well. We'll try and answer anything that we can. So, Don, you're telling me that you're in. When did you get to St. Louis?
I'm in St. Louis on Sunday. I'm out here checking out Phil Vincent's mom's house event. They do a 3-day training on everything lead gen when it comes to senior living and basically moving mom out of her home and into senior living. And it's a really, really incredibly educational opportunity program. I guess hard to get my words out this morning, but yeah, it's been good, and just picking up a lot of things and hanging out and networking with a lot of cool people. A lot of people put themselves in a bubble, put themselves in a box, and they work on their stuff and they don't get out. And I'm always amazed by the opportunities that present themselves when I come out to an event. Whatever the event is, just the opportunities, the friendships, the network, just how much it grows. So I encourage anybody watching to try to make events that to give you an opportunity to pick up something, educate yourself, but also that give you an opportunity to just build relationships with people outside your circle. And that's what I've been doing for the last 4 days now. So
That's awesome. Good, yeah. I know Joe was saying, I think he was going to go and check it out. I don't know if you've seen him yet.
I
McCall.
haven't. No.
Okay.
I never see Joe. I never see Joe in St. Louis, man. Unless I paid to see him. Joe's famous.
That's awesome. Yeah, he said he was going. I need to check in. He said he was going to be there like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday or something, checking it out. So I'm surprised. Okay, so you're doing that. So when are you leaving?
I fly home tomorrow, actually. So I fly home tomorrow, and I turn around and I fly to LA, and I'm speaking at an event in LA on Saturday for Realty 411. So excited about that. So it'd be a busy week, but again, get to meet a lot of people and get to be on stage on Saturday, kind of sharing my story and what we got going on. So that's gonna be fun. Of course, it always is. And
Nice.
yeah. And what about you? You've been traveling, so you've been up and down the California coast and all over the place, man. So and what's amazing here is you're still doing deals. You're still doing business, and that's super cool.
Absolutely, yeah. I was in California for a week. I did the coast. I went to Florida for a week. We had a mastermind there called the Family Mastermind. Then I did I had a 1 day off, and then I did my 1 day event in Tampa, Florida, and then I went to Savannah, Georgia for St. Patrick's Day. I had a friend come in from England, and then I got back to Phoenix on Sunday. I'm here for about a week and a half, and then I'm going to be going back to Florida, and then I go to England for a couple of weeks. So yeah, it's just been crazy. But that's what this business allows us to do, right? And sometimes, I've got some stuff going on, and sometimes you just got to get away and just kind of reset, focus on yourself. And I think it's important. It's important to stay busy and do kind of what you want, if that makes sense.
Agreed. Now, have you been RVing this entire time, or did you catch a couple of flights in there?
No, I haven't. I'm in my RV right now, so I'm back in Phoenix. I bought a house in Phoenix. I'm on the drive of. We're doing a full rehab on it. The floor's in now. We're waiting to have the kitchen fitted. It just arrived a couple of days ago. We're spraying the outside, so probably another couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, it should be done and ready to kind of get furniture going in there. But my RV stay, I've just been flying really into Florida, and then I drove up to Savannah, which is about 4 or 5 hour drive. Stayed there. Obviously, I have a house there, so I grabbed my car, so I had that, and then I flew back in here, so I have a car here as well. So, yeah, it's kind of been hectic as well. But yeah, it's good. So the RV's staying put, but it's ready for a trip at any point, you know. So yeah, it's kind of what's been happening.
Awesome.
Um,
So let's talk about, we talked last week about, getting started in this business, like some of the things we would do, Dave and I would do if we had to do it all over again. I
yeah,
think, the virtual stuff you're doing might be a good topic this week, and just kind of like, you're traveling, you're in the RV, you're living, you have a home in 2 different states. So you're never in one spot for a long period of time. How are you doing deals? How are you making that happen? What kind of, I know texting was something you were trying to get nailed down marketing wise, but what are some of the other ways you're doing deals? And I don't even think we've even talked about what your team looks like. So
yeah. So I have. It's a good question. The first thing is when you go virtual, in my opinion, as soon as you're not running appointments, you're virtual, right? It's that
mhm.
simple. And that could be you as I'm talking to a sole entrepreneur here, right? Maybe getting into the business, they don't have the funds, they don't have a team yet, whatever it is. If you don't see the house, you're now virtual. You could be in your own market, but if you physically don't go there, you're virtual. And that's kind of how I set up from the get-go. I understood that if I don't go to the house, I can do it from anywhere in the world. That was the first kind of mind shift that I made to say, okay, well, that makes sense, right? So when I started doing business in Phoenix, living in Phoenix, I never saw any of the houses still. And I was disciplined to doing that because, again, if I need to go to England, I wanted to travel, I need to operate. So I did everything from the phone and locking up deals and then building relationships and networking with other people. So again, Don, I don't believe I've ever done a deal, and I haven't, or I can't think of one. I've never done a deal on my own. Okay. Whether
Okay.
I've been acquisition, whether I've been the marketer, whether I've been dispo, I've never done a deal ever where I have marketed, picked the lead up myself, got the contract, went into escrow, found the buyer, closed it. Never done it. Never done it.
So
I,
when you say never done on your own, you don't mean team, you mean partners, like JV partners, whatever the deal, right?
Correct. Yeah. The way that I'm built, I have JV partners that I am regular partners with or just pulling in. Just like if I picked up a deal in California, right? I just call you and say, can you dispo? Let's partner on it. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of
Mm-hmm.
how I do business because then now I can hand out. There's 2 things that happen with me making that choice. Number one is you work California, you're going to have better buyers, better processes. We're going to do things faster, right, by using you, and you're probably going to make me more money than me going and spending all my time trying to find the buyer, the escrow company. I don't know the buyer. Is he going to close? All of these things that go into it. Or I make one phone call to you, say, hey, I got a deal, looks great. What do you think of the numbers? Yeah, we can move that. What do you think we can make? This, boom, let's partner. You take it from here, get it closed, and we both get paid. I mean, that's kind of how I do it. So and it makes sense to me because now I can focus on getting the next deal, right? And that's all I've ever done. Doing it. So I've not got the scarcity mindset about like I'm not giving 50% up, right? I don't look at it like that. I'm gaining 50% and a lot of time back. That's how I look at it.
Well, and you're not spending the money maintaining a team and everything a team needs, and so you're probably gaining there as well. So
For sure, for
yeah.
sure. Because if I had acquisition, disposition, marketing, I'm still when we cut all that down, I'm no better off probably than if I was partnering, right? So I have a couple of key partners, whether it's creative finance, whether it's deals, like in Alabama, I run all the marketing. So my team is literally like on the real estate. It's kind of me. I've got one lead VA. I got probably 5 VAs under him. And then I've got my kind of operations, like admin, financial person in Lauren. I have Gabe who does all my content stuff, and that's my team. And then I have a couple of business partners that I do deals with, that I lead gen for. And that's kind of how we do business. And then we also then have the creative finance, where we'll do creative finance pretty much all over the country, depending on the deal as well. So we've brought that in over the last probably 6 months. And I have a partner for that as well. So I'm very big on building the right team with the right people. And I've always had better success with partnerships than I have acquisition and disposition, because they more come and go, right? And my partnerships have lasted. I mean, I don't think I've lost a partnership that I've created, if that makes sense.
Right.
And that's what I'm good at, because if we make it a win-win for all of us, then it makes sense, right? And that's kind of how I then run the business. So I run now, after being in the acquisition role for years, locking up deals. That's kind of what I do. That's what I'm comfortable in doing in terms of the sales. I like talking to people. I have conversations that, even in my coaching business, I role play with myself if I have to. Like, I got no problem talking to myself, right? Basically. But then it got to, I was like, well, this is a grind, right? Wholesaling, we're in a transactional business. It's a grind. So I was like, well, how do I remove myself? And that's when then I started to get really good at the marketing, the systems, utilizing VAs, team members, where I could then allow them to make more money focusing on what they're good at, and allow me to run the systems and the marketing, and then we'll JV, and then we all get paid, and it's worked really well for us. So that's kind of how I do it, and that's why I'm able to operate from anywhere as long as I have an internet connection and a phone. Like when I go to England, the only things I have to watch is the time zone, right? That's it. The
Right.
time zone changes, and I need to adapt to that sometimes. But other than that, I don't miss a beat. It doesn't matter where I am, right? And as long as I do my key things, and to be honest, Don, what's amazing, like when I haven't been to England nearly 3 years. That's why I'm going, because of the whole pandemic craziness. But normally I go twice a year. And what's amazing when you run a business is when you don't have that much time, you prioritize, okay, better. And your dollars per hour goes through the roof, because what you'll do is, like, if I'm traveling to England, I might work an hour a day or 2 hours a day, right? And I have a very small window to get all these things done. Well, all the noise and the craziness gets pushed to a side, and then I actually focus on what I actually need to get done, right? And what happens is I'm more efficient when I'm traveling, because I don't, as an entrepreneur, and I'm sure you're the same, if I'm sitting here all day and I've got nothing to do but work, I could sit there for 12 hours and work. But when I actually look back at the day, did I actually get
Right.
anything done? Or was it just a lot of like going around, oh, you could do this and do that? And I was all busy, but I was busy doing nothing, right? And that happens a lot. And it's super frustrating, because I was like, well, what if I could do 12 hours of like prioritizing, but it's just not possible. And your head gets filled with a load of nonsense, and you don't actually take that much action until you go, I have an hour today, because I've got whatever you've got going on, you make it work. Just something changes in your mind to say, well, I ain't got time to mess about and think. I got to get this done before I leave today. And by doing that, you really can save a lot of time, get a lot of time back. If
Okay.
that makes sense.
It does. It makes a lot of sense. My struggle when I travel is that I try not to work at all. And I've been traveling a
Yeah.
lot the last couple of years. And so, I really have to focus in when I'm at home. And I do need to balance a little bit more, and probably throw a little bit of the work in the travel, like a couple hour window or something like that. Because I always, sorry, I always come back to mountains and stuff I got to address. So that's got to change for me. Most definitely.
And I don't mind doing it, right? Because it keeps me it makes me feel better, right? Because like last week, I did a couple of coaching calls last week, but I pretty much took last week off, right? Altogether. But then I feel like I don't know what's happening. and that doesn't work well for me. Like I like to know what's going on. I'm not the one doing it, but I'm very good with communication, and I like to talk to the team, and I interact with them a lot, and I want to know what's happening. And when I don't do that, I come back and I'm like, I have no idea what's happening, and that stresses me out. So me working an hour or two just gives me like, okay, I know what we're doing, I know where we're at, I know what's happening. And it just, then I can enjoy my time off better. It works better for me rather than just saying, I'm going to take the whole week off and I'm not going to do a thing. I'm then constantly thinking more about work because I don't put that little window in, because I'm thinking, well, did this get done? Did that happen? I wonder if they forgot that. I wonder if, and then I ended up, I'm not working, but in my mind, I'm working tenfold, if that makes sense.
Right. Makes a lot of sense.
So
We had some comments in here. You probably see better than I can since I'm on my phone, but
yeah, let's see. Matt was saying that's crazy. He said, how much do you lose by JVing on a dispo side? Well, I don't lose anything. Again, I gain. I look at it. I'll give you an example. There's a client that bought me a deal in Arizona, in Phoenix, right? And he bought me this deal, and I said, yeah, I can move it. I can make 10. I can move this. I think it was 80. I can move it for 90. Immediately, I have a buyer. But I was like, let me see if I can get any more money. So I called a friend of mine in Phoenix, he's got a big buyers list, knows a lot more people than me. And I said, hey, I got a client who's bought me a deal. I can make 90,000 on it. Sorry, I can make 10,000 on it, sell it for 90. We can make 5 each. But if I bring you in, I think you can get it higher. The only thing that I need you to do is I need to make sure he gets minimum 5,000, because that's what I could move it for. And he's like, yeah, I can get that up. So we ended up selling it, I think, for 103. So we actually made 75 or 7,000 or 7,500, whatever it was, each. So you got to look at, for me, right? I was a connector in that transaction. I made 2 phone calls, right? The client made $2,500 more than he would have done when he bought it to me, that I could move it for. The other guy made 7,500 because I bought him the deal, and I still made 7,500. So by using your network and connections, because everyone's got better buyers, right, depending on what they're doing, that we all made more money. But you have to look at them. What was my time in that? So one, I looked after the client and said he's a minimum going to walk away with 5, right, if we can't get it up. And then I've all of a sudden removed myself from that, and I made 7,500 for 2 phone calls. So that is the way I look at it, right? How can I get all of my time back, get people that I like doing business with paid, and then we're all happy? That's just the way I do it. That's how I've always done it. You know, the guy who brand new I bought the deal, well, I've just made him $7,500. So now we're on a new level, right? And now you end up building that relationship, doing more things together, and it all comes around, and that's kind of how I do it. My mindset behind it.
Awesome. Yeah, no, that's definitely cool. Yeah.
Dan said here, if you need help in Mississippi, please let me know. Thanks. Dan, I don't know about Don. I've done deals in Mississippi, in Jackson, Mississippi. The only problem is with Mississippi, it's actually, I believe, it's the least state for cash buyers. There's not that many cash transactions in Mississippi compared to other states. The other problem is with Mississippi, because it's like clay based, there's a lot of foundation issues. So you look like you're getting smoking deals all the time, but then it's constant foundation because it's built on clay or something. We did the deals that I did there. I did a couple of deals with local investors, but mainly to a hedge fund that went in there. We made about 150 grand over about 6 deals in Mississippi, because we had a hedge fund at the time a few years ago that were buying. So we heavily marketed there, and we were killing it until they lost their money and they ran out of funds. So Mississippi is not something that I'd focus on because of the clay base, and again the foundation issues that seem to be a constant thing there. But yes, absolutely, I'd keep in mind if something comes up, or you can let me know if something comes up. I'm sure we have some buyers there. So just a tip on that.
Texas has that issue as well, and I guess a lot of the states in that kind of region.
for sure, for sure. So let's see if we have anything else. Sounds good if it works for you. You said that's great. So yeah, so that's all the questions, guys. If you have any more questions, let us know. And don't get me wrong, as well. Like, I don't want to sit here and say that everything's perfect, because it's far from. I know I've opened up several times. Like, we went into heavily flipping, so my model kind of broke down a little bit last year. I went heavily into flipping because I thought I spotted an opportunity, which I did, but at the same time, I calculated it wrong because I didn't have the right team in place, right? So I went heavily flipping in Alabama. We got into a bit of a mess with contractors, which then derailed my wholesale team. One of my business partners had to step in to manage the flips, which then stopped the wholesale. And then you can see now, when you're now up against it, right? We're leveraging. We had a plan that we would take one flip at a time. We wouldn't put in over 30,000, else we'd wholesale it. Next thing, we're in 5-6 flips at a time. We're doing $130,000 rehabs, and we made money. We didn't lose money in that process. We made money, and we only made money because we bought right. I have a rule: if I'm buying a flip, that if I can't wholesale it, I'm not buying it. It's a simple rule, but I think everyone should, especially if you're sourcing deals. If you can't wholesale the deal, you do not buy it yourself, and that's what saved us. Okay, because we bought right. So we made money, but it was a big learning curve for me to go, okay, on my blueprint. If you looked at my blueprint in terms of my business plan going into that, you'd be like, yeah, you got this. This is great. But then when things don't happen to your business plan, what backup do you have? And I didn't have the backup, right? And that's when you start scrambling. But it's a part of a learning curve, right? And you always learn from your failures. It doesn't matter what level you're at. It's the failures that you learn from, because guess what? I'd be more concerned if I hadn't failed. So if you're listening to this now and you're doing business in an up market, right, where everyone's overpaying and everyone's making money, you just have to keep your feet on the ground and just be prepared. And I'm not saying you're going to fail, but you're going to fail at some point, right? There's a decision that you're going to make. There's something you're going to buy too high. It's going to get you at some point, but don't freak out. Learn from it, right? And I'm sure Don's the same. I mean, Don's got way bigger life lessons than me. And when I network with people like Don, right, and I listen to, when he's got, I'm talking about 5-6 flips, 7 flips going at once, and he's got 60 flips going at once, right? So, and when you start over leveraging, but you have to listen. I never, when I go into a networking situation, okay, I go to learn and listen. I'm very coachable, okay, and people have said, like, if I go into a sport that I've never played, right? I'm going in with, well, tell me what I need to do and I'll try and do it, right? I'm not going to go in and try and do my way when I don't know what I'm doing. So it could be anything, like hold it like this or do this or throw it like that, whatever the sport may be. And they'll go, oh, actually, you're pretty good. And I'm like, well, only because you've showed me what to do and I'm now going to execute that, right? And it's the same thing when I network. So if Don says, well, this is what happened to me, I'm going to take that on board and go, well, how do I allow that not to happen to me? So I'm going to take his learning and I'm going to bring it in and go, well, yeah, I don't want to do that. And that's what, we talk about masterminds and networking. They're the things that you get from it. It's not about what's working today, because that's important, but it's also not what to do. What shouldn't you be doing is also just as important.
I totally agreed. Totally agreed. And I think that's a great place to put a pen in this conversation and close it up. We said we do this for about 30 minutes today. So we should have a guest next week. I just had somebody hit me up, about mobile homes and stuff. I had a few people hit me up in the last couple of days. So look for Dave to be back next week, everybody. Look for us to have another guest, probably next week in the weeks to come, and I think we're all going to be that first weekend. Are you going to be in Florida with us?
Possibly. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying to figure it out. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, we may all be there at the same time. I know Dave's going to be there. So we'll be at Amelia Island for an event, and it'll be a good time. So hopefully we'll see you there, Gavin. I know Dave will be there with me, so we'll probably have to broadcast from the beach. That'll be cool.
Awesome.
That won't suck. Yeah.
No, not at all. Yeah, well, Don, enjoy the rest of the event. I appreciate you stepping out and joining us or being on today. Guys, remember, we are live every single week, 11. I'm on a different time zone. 9 Pacific, 12 Eastern, 11 Central, every single week live. If it's in the Facebook group, you're watching on one of our YouTube channels, do us a favor, give us a like, subscribe to where you're watching, share the post. We want to get as many eyes as we can on this. So, yeah, we appreciate you, Don. And again, enjoy the rest of the event, bud. And I will talk to you soon. All right.